Hello, my name is Ben.
My name's Andrew.
And we are your hosts of the Too Vague podcast this week. One word, two hosts, stories, trivia, and video games. But unrefrigerated.
We're going unrefrigerated this week.
Yeah.
My refrigerator's on strike.
Is on strike?
Well, it's on probation.
Probation?
It's on double secret probation.
Double secret, my goodness.
If anybody happened to see my stand-up comedy YouTube, they know I really hate my Samsung refrigerator.
You compared it to the Cybertruck. Isn't that correct?
The Cybertruck. I compared the Cybertruck to, the Samsung refrigerator.
I picked that up. I totally picked that up.
I'm having, it's a good day to be salty towards both Elon and Samsung refrigerators.
So you're picking up a new one, yeah?
Yeah, we're going to get a Whirlpool.
A Whirlpool? Ooh.
A Whirlpool, yeah.
Fancy. It's going to have one of those door ice things with the water and...
Like, we're not a water and ice dispenser in the door kind of family.
Oh, you're a big pant family?
Or what? A big pant family? No, it's just... No.
That's not right.
What is that, Kevin Mooney?
Yeah, whatever happened to Kevin Meaney, but yeah.
Kevin Meaney. Yeah.
He died, probably, but anyway.
That's what happened, yeah.
You're not a Whirlpool family. I'm sorry, you're not a dispensing water and ice through the door family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we don't do that.
No.
There's too much stuff going on.
Okay. It's not like it's sacrilege or anything. It's just,
No, it takes up interior space. And it's like one more thing to break.
Right.
I mean, the one we're going to get has an ice maker and there's an interior water dispenser if you want to use that. But
okay.
But yeah, that's not like I think Catherine doesn't like having the busyness on the front of the refrigerator.
Okay. The busyness.
You know,
okay,
the busyness,
gotcha.
the busy business, like there's too many doodads sticking out. And
this is all magnet space. This needs to be free.
Yeah, there's a sad thing about that. Stainless steel doors, the magnets don't stick to them.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Does it come with a Secretary of the Interior?
Mm-mm.
What do you think a Secretary of the Interior of a refrigerator would do?
That's complicated.
I'm thinking more work than the actual Secretary of the Interior.
Secretary of the Interior.
Yeah.
Well, they take care of the interior. It's a lot of stuff.
Do you think it bothers them that they're called the Secretary?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm throwing crazy at you today.
Well, they're not the administrative assistant of the interior. That would be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Not the receptionist of the interior.
You know what? That's what the government needs. A good rebranding.
Good. Yeah, all the cabinet positions should be rebranded from being secretaries to receptionists. Yeah. You got the receptionist of defense, the receptionist of the interior,
the receptionist of commerce,
the receptionist of Homeland Security, and the Postmaster General still gets to be a general.
He's still a general. It's okay.
It's not a cabinet position anyway.
Yeah. Refrigerator aside, anything going on in your life that's exciting and new?
We just got over COVID again.
Ugh.
So everything's exciting.
A whole lot of mucus in that household?
Yep. That's largely gone now.
Oh, okay. That's good. You're still getting over it a little bit and you're just getting back to work on your writing and stuff, or?
The writing stuff. Yeah, I need to get back into the writing.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I did some writing yesterday and I was going to do some today. And then the refrigerator problem started up and that just...
And then some jerk wanted to record a friggin' podcast. That guy.
This was going to happen anyway.
Because we got an exciting word today.
Yeah, the exciting thing. I'm in denial of the fact that very soon it's going to be my birthday.
Yeah, I saw that. And we're going to do a little bit of time traveling right now. Because by the time this episode comes out, it'll be your birthday. So I am going to wish you a happy birthday now. So it will work when you don't listen to it later.
When I don't.
Because you told me that you don't listen to your episodes, but
my gosh, don't tell the listeners that. I listen to all the other episodes, though. I make the time to listen to the other episodes, and then I run out of time before I can listen to the ones I'm on.
Yeah, and it's just like you're there.
I mean, I was there. I actually trust your editing process. You should take it as that. Me trusting you to do a good job with making it into a show. Whenever I do listen, it's a pretty good show.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I mean, when I listen to myself, then yeah, I do listen to mine sometimes.
Well, what's going on with me is I've got, and this is going to be surprisingly not so video gamey at the moment. We've got someone who I met. I don't know if you knew them or were connected with them before, but there's a person named Liz who goes by the handle Gen Excellent on Threads and Substack.
Yeah.
She just did an article about Judy Blume. Do you have a favorite Judy Blume book from when you were younger?
Boy, I like the Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing.
Yeah, that's close to my top, but my top is probably Freckle Juice. The reason I like it so much, it's because of the message that being your authentic self is what you should be.
Mm-hmm.
Enough about that, but she has agreed to be on the show.
Nice.
So that's going to be exciting. We don't know what word we're going to do. We're discussing it right now.
Should do landlord.
Landlord. Maybe. There's a lot of 80s stuff involving the landlord.
No, I think the reason like I saw this person's threads is because I got all excited that her husband gave her the complete set of Three's Company DVDs.
Ah.
So that was like, yep, I don't have to do the research into why I like Mr. Furley so much. I'm going to let Liz do it. I'll take that episode off.
Yeah. Liz is going to be the expert on all things Roper and Furley.
Perhaps. I mean, you don't have to, you can let the episode take its own direction.
This is true. This is true. It's definitely going to be brought up. That's kind of how I got connected with her. You responded to her, and I saw your response, and then I responded.
Yeah, that's what I did. I did that on purpose. I was like, this is how I use social media to try to trick other people into being on the podcast.
Trick? I mean,
entice? Say no. I try to talk up the podcast. That's what I do. I try to like say, hey, if there's somebody who has something that might be intersectional with the interests of the Too Vague podcast, then I try to you're say something clever and jokey, and then you chime in too, because you respond to everything I put on Threads. So,
you're the best wingman ever.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to meeting people on Threads, you're the best wingman ever.
Yeah, right. I'm just like, hey, go be on this podcast. Yeah.
And I'm still talking with that gentleman, the author who worked on Rock and Roll.
Right.
We're still kind of going back and forth on possibilities there. Another person that I met through Threads. It's like Threads, man, if I would have known how great Threads is for meeting people.
Well, it's only been around for like a year.
It seems like longer. Okay.
It's brand new. Yeah. It was a couple of weeks ago that they were like, we've been around for a year. And yeah, so it's very new. Yeah, a bunch of people just kind of moving over there because, they get tired of the nonsense at the other place.
Yeah, other places,
but then
probably.
The other places, yeah, but the nonsense follows you around. But no matter where you go, there you are.
Yep. Yeah, what is that watermelon for?
Man, just to make just see if the studio censors are watching.
Yeah. What was it? What do we want? It was something like world domination or
something like that. And when do we want it? Real soon.
Real soon. For those who aren't in the know, that's a quote from Buckaroo Banzai. That's a thing that I think needs to be remade. It would be a cool thing to kind of try it again. I think it would be received a little bit more positively these days with, how you got your idiosyncratic comic superhero sort of stories. I mean, I think it would definitely be a good series. But one other person that I met on Threads goes by the handle of AdventurerJessica. I think I got connected to her independent of you, though.
I think so, because I don't know AdventurerJessica.
At some point in time, if not now, she works at an arcade and does work replacing parts on pinball machines and arcades. I was like, oh, hey, So I started getting back into this game. There's a long story behind licenses changing hands. There's a game that came out that I bought on disc, the Pinball Arcade, and it has a lot of the classic tables, and they were really good about releasing tables monthly, and then all of a sudden someone came along and yanked the licenses from them. Well, didn't yank them. They said the company, I think it's Farsight Studios or Alliance Digital, they tried to get the licenses for the Williams and Bally tables, but they were only able to get the licenses for Stern, and now they just do Stern tables. But I still have all the packs that I bought from long ago when the PlayStation 4 came out. That kind of inspired me to go back and play some of my favorite tables historically that I like to play in person.
Yeah.
And, you know, and also this would be great. I mean, she's a streamer. I'd really love to compare notes on running an arcade because I did some of that when I was, I don't know, I want to say her age, but I mean, in my middle 20s, early to middle 20s. That's what's going on with me playing pinball.
Playing pinball, virtual pinball.
On the video, not actual pinball.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Unless you've got something you really want to talk about before we talk about.
Oh, yeah, I do have one more really exciting thing that's been happening to me.
Okay.
Visual migraines.
Eek. That doesn't sound good.
Oh, don't like them. They're no good. I mean, at least I don't have the pain, the headache part.
Just the zigzagging.
Just a crazy zigzag through my field of vision for no particular reason.
Yeah, my mom used to get those. Well, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, for some reason, it's just been happening in the last several days. And it's probably the refrigerator's fault.
Yeah, blame it on the refrigerator.
I blame it on the refrigerator.
Well, it's either refrigerator or AI's fault. One of the two.
It's probably multifactorial, but it's something that seems to happen more often during the summertime for me. So It's summertime.
Not related to any kind of allergies or anything possibly, or?
I don't think so.
I like the word multifactorial, by the way.
Multifactorial. Yeah, it's multifactorial. Yeah, part of it was, well, there was the COVID. I think that ran down my system to begin with. And then because of the COVID, I re-downloaded the stupid matchy color phone game.
The matchy color fun game, yeah.
Matchy color phone game, you know.
TM.
You match the colors and something explodes and then it breaks things and it moves on.
Yeah. One of those match threes.
One of those. It was, Royal Match. They're all the same, but yeah.
That's what you've been playing while I've been playing pinball?
Well, I was staring at my phone too much from that.
That's probably eye strain right there. That probably doesn't help too much.
It doesn't help too much. And then more eye strain with, sitting at my computer and writing. I'm doomed.
Well, hopefully this will, I don't know how I would be able to accomplish making you feel better by recording a podcast, but hopefully this will make you feel better.
Because I get this sense of accomplishment at the end. Like, I did a thing.
Yeah, that's cool. And you helped out a friend. Let's get into the word this week.
Right. Let's not leave out the word.
Yes. Not to be confused with the dinkus.
The dinkus.
Are you familiar with the dinkus?
The dinkus?
Yes.
The dinkus.
Yeah, dinkus, the dinkus.
It sounds like something they talk about on the school playground.
It's not that. It's actually 3 asterisks used for breaking up sections, chapters, things like that. You can also...
Oh, it's called a dinkus?
Yes. I think when it's the 3 asterisks, it's called a dinkus, but it can also be any other kind of separation thing.
Dinkus, yeah. Wow. I use that thing all the time.
The 3 asterisks?
Yeah. Didn't know that it was called a dinkus.
Well, now you know. But not to be confused with that, we are talking about another 3 dots in a row sort of thing. The ellipsis is what we're...
The ellipsis. Oh, the dreaded ellipsis.
Is it the dreaded?
Depends on the context, yeah.
Okay.
When it comes through on a text message, I've heard that, yeah.
What have you heard?
I've heard, okay, this is what I heard. Do we want to get into this before we get into the definition? Or?
Let me just do the definition. And I'm going to do the definition according to Merriam-Webster because I don't like the way the Oxford Languages divides it up. That being said, it's going to be a hybrid.
All right.
So I'm going to take the definition from Merriam-Webster and the Ngram viewer data and the origin from Oxford Languages and have a very wordy love child, or I don't know. According to Merriam-Webster, ellipsis, it's a noun. 1A, the omission of one or more words that are obviously understood, but that must be supplied to make a construction grammatically complete.
I see.
1B is a sudden leap from one topic to another.
Okay. Yeah, that's the function. Yeah.
And I think that's linguistic. I mean, those are linguistic functions as opposed to...
Is it linguistic, or it's just sort of, this is what it is? It's from the Latin, right? Meaning something got left out.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So, I mean, I don't think this is not exactly a linguistics terms. Just
we can discuss it a little bit after you tell your story. Marks or a mark such as ... indicating an omission as of words or a pause. That is the definition of ellipsis.
In the old-timey Merriam-Webster.
Old-timey indeed.
The old-timey dictionary.
Let's talk about the origin, which is Greek.
It's Greek? What?
Yeah. It's mid-16th century by way of Latin from Greek, Ellippian to leave out. Look at that graph of the Ngram viewer. My gosh.
They really liked talking about...
Or not talking.
Oh, yeah, no, the 1800s, they were all about, let's use the word ellipsis.
That's different than actually using the ellipsis, right? It's using the word.
The punctuation, yeah. The ellipsis punctuation, yeah. It's using the word, yeah. It's
which is strange, wouldn't you say? I mean, the fact that it's so much larger in usage in the 1800s and then declines so much in the 1900s and 1950s and is just starting to be used again.
It seems like the kind of word that they would use a lot in the 1800s, especially in print. That was basically the, they didn't have TV yet. They didn't even have photography till 1839. So,
right.
That was basically how they showed off. They couldn't do selfies, so they just used as many words as they could. I mean, and that's basically in the print world.
Right.
The ellipsis symbol, they use it. As far as like my freshman composition college class that taught us the MLA format for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Modern Languages Association format for writing stuff, which is only used by the Modern Languages Association.
It's a punctuation mark.
It's a punctuation mark, and it's they teach using it, especially when you're doing quotes from another source, and you're using part of a quote, and you're leaving a bit out, and you're coming back to it. Because it makes the flow clunky if you put in every single word, and so you're just like, oh yeah, ... skipped over some stuff that's not relevant to this point, but
or that we don't want to say because it adds context to the disinformation we're going to provide.
Yeah, it lets people know you let something out, and if you're documenting your source properly, you're giving the trail of breadcrumbs so that they can find out
back to
what you're hiding. That's the whole point of doing your citations, right? So they can figure out what you're plagiarizing from.
You're looking at the Wikipedia article, is that correct?
I got it up, yeah.
The ellipsis linguistics, or...
What do you mean ellipsis linguistics?
Well, if you've got the ellipsis one up, and it's got that little thing that says there's ellipsis linguistics.
All right, yeah, okay, all right. I stand corrected. Yes, an elliptical construction is the omission from a clause of one or more words that are nevertheless understood in a context.
Right.
Like when we say, pick that thing up from the floor, there's the ellipsis of you. You pick that thing up from the floor.
Yeah, and that's where they get into like some linguistic examples of gapping and stripping and verb phrase, pseudo gapping.
I wouldn't bother with that.
All these linguistic things, but it's a part of linguistics as far as studying communication.
This is like sort of judgy though.
Oh, is it judgy?
Yeah, because if you look at like different dialects of a language, some of them will like leave out certain words, and then calling it,
Oh, so you're calling it stripping or pseudo-gapping or whatever. I don't think it's...
stripping or pseudo-gapping, all that. It's like...
It may come off as judgy, I guess.
It is something that seems to be like part of prescriptive grammar rather than descriptive grammar.
But linguistics and grammar are kind of different, right?
No. I mean, they're different. Yeah. I mean, linguistics
is communication, whereas grammar is I guess the proper.
No, grammar is not the proper. Prescriptive grammar is the idea that there's a proper order for words and you should follow it. Descriptive grammar is looking at how people actually use grammar in how they do their word order, how they
naturally,
yeah. And so really prescriptive grammar is usually a way to reinforce like class divides and hierarchies. So this whole thing is like, this is the only way, basically putting down people for using the word ain't.
That ain't no good.
Ain't a word. Like, well, no, it is a word. According to descriptive grammar, it is a word. A word is something that if you say it and someone else understands it, then it's a word.
Well, yeah, that's the way dictionaries work. They change meanings and add words based on their usage.
Yeah, at least in English. In French, they like to severely gatekeep. They get upset if too many English terms sneak into the country. And then they're like, no, you cannot say le weekend. Stop saying that. But they say it anyway. The kids.
I tell you, those French kids. But then there's also Quebecois French. So what do they think of Quebecois French? I mean, they must be really nuts about that.
Quebecois French. I don't actually know enough, but I think Quebecois French might be a little bit even more strict than Parisian French.
All right.
In the sense that it's based on an older version of French.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it's this kind of thing where like the languages are funny. It'll evolve more in the place where it comes from than in the other places where it goes to.
Right.
Like the whole idea that, like, the weird dialect in Appalachia is probably more similar to what they were speaking in England in the late 1600s than what they speak in England now.
Right. Okay.
If a dialect, progresses in isolation, it will get more conservative and not changing things. Whereas the one that's in the big city, it's a mess.
So accents and dialects, there's a difference, yes?
Yeah. A dialect is a version of a language, where accent is more about sound shifts.
Gotcha.
If people use the words like interchangeably.
Yeah. I was thinking dialect coach, like when you're an actor and you have a dialect coach.
You have a dialect coach. Yeah. And for acting, it's sort of the same thing. Yeah. Accent is not a very precise word, but a dialect, at least in the linguistic sense, it's a distinct version of the language that might have some different grammatical constructions, and certain words are used differently in a dialect than in the other one. And then there'll be differences in how they're pronounced and sounds.
Okay.
So, sort of like in the dialect of the young people. Ohio does not refer to a state. It refers to stuff that's just kind of derpy.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry.
Skibbity Ohio, man.
Is that a Gen Z thing?
Gen Alpha, man. These little kids with their Ohio, yeah.
So Ohio, if something is Ohio.
It's kind of dumb.
What do people from Cincinnati and Cleveland think about this? Or do they know?
They don't like it. Some of them know. No, a friend of mine is from Cleveland, and he's the one who pointed out this, and he's like, why is this? What's the hatred of Ohio? And I was like, I don't know. And then I asked kids.
What did they say?
And they don't know what it means. They think it comes from a meme.
Okay, so they don't know. They've never been to Ohio.
No, they've never been to Ohio. They've just seen stuff on the internet. It's sort of, there was some kind of meme that was like, somebody took a picture of like a, sometimes those digital signs, something funny happens and like part of the message doesn't come through right, or it got deleted, or They didn't clear it out right. There's just one that said Ohio is canceled. And then people are like, that's so dumb. And they're like, Ohio. And then, so, sort of like the Florida man meme happened. And then there became
what's the Florida man meme?
The Florida man?
Yeah.
You never heard of Florida man?
No, I have not.
Oh my gosh. You're missing out. There's so many news articles of weird things that begin with the headline Florida man.
Okay. I think I understand what you're talking about. Florida man removes false teeth from crocodile's stomach or
things like that. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. This is a very long tangent into a very meaningless area.
You want to get back to ellipsis?
Let's get away from the linguistics one because
I did learn some cool new words from the Wikipedia article that are related to the ellipsis. But you tell your story and then we'll go into those.
Oh, my story. Okay, this has to do with the more young people, how they use the ellipsis punctuation and how they interpret it in text messaging.
Okay.
So, you've talked to Star.
Yeah.
So she is of a different generation than us, and also was telling me about, she had a summer job where it started out cool and then started not being cool, and she's like got a million side hustles all the time. So she was tired. Let's say she was tired, and also wasn't supposed to be scheduled to work that day, and
okay.
I texted the boss about, I can't do it today. And there was like a whole exchange. She could tell it better, but she was relating the story to me. And then she was like, and then she ended her text with an ellipsis, but not just 3 dots, 4 dots. And I was like, what?
But that's not an ellipsis.
Well, it's exactly. Is it? It is. It kind of is.
Unless it's an ellipsis and a period because you leave off the thing, right?
So if we scroll down in your Wikipedia article, not the linguistics one, but the other one, we go down to the section that says, in texting, this turn construction unit to signal silence, for example, when indicating disagreement, disapproval, or confusion. This is a little old. I think it's kind of turned into the young'uns when they use an ellipsis in their text message, they feel like it means that there is unspoken anger.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. Like, I was like, what?
So is that like when you use it just by itself or when you use it at the end of a sentence contextually?
At the end of the sentence, you're like saying, yeah, when you like trail off at the end of the sentence, the way that it gets interpreted by your Gen Z kids is that the other person is super pissed off. But they also interpret, I think millennials too, like if you put a period at the end of a text message, that to them seems overly formal, and that the only reason you would put a period at the end of the text message is to indicate that you are annoyed or possibly angry.
Weird. Okay, so this is
weird.
I don't know if it's weird. It's an interesting interpretation of texting. Is it the same with emails? Are emails used by Gen Z formal for that, but texting is informal? Or
no. Ask some millennials what they think about having a period at the end of a text message. They're late 30s. They're turning 40. The millennials are turning 40. Yeah.
Let's not talk about that.
Sorry, I got big birthdays on my mind.
50?
Yeah. It's half of 100.
Turning 50. ... Yay.
The younger people find the ellipsis as at least a passive aggressive form of punctuation.
Huh.
When using text messages.
Okay.
Whereas like I think like I would use an ellipsis as a just sort of trailing off here, which that I believe was covered in your Merriam-Webster definition.
So you know what that for thing? Apparently it's the Mongolian ellipsis.
The Mongolian ellipsis is for.
If you go down to the next section where it says computer representations in Unicode, yeah, you got the four dots there, Mongolian ellipsis.
But it's not. It's like the dots are up at the top.
And then there's midline, horizontal, upright. I'm like, really, just...
These are why are they doing the diagonal ellipse? Like, we don't need those. I like when they're used in math.
They're used frequently in math notation.
They're saying, yeah, it's, and so forth between these two. You know, it keeps going on between these two, you know, keep following the pattern.
Factorials, summation, matrices, all sorts of things. And then also, one of the things that I think of specifically to computing, here they call it code folding or text folding, where you use the ellipsis in a GUI, graphic user interface, to expand and contract menus or selections. I used to see it more in old DOS and Commodore 64 type applications. But yeah, it's code folding if you're doing code, text folding if it's just typing.
Now here's the thing, the M dash, I need to get used to using the M dash instead of the ellipsis.
Yeah.
Gosh, M dashes and N dashes. There's two different kinds of dashes, and typesetters are really particular about them. Do you know who else is particular about them?
No.
Nobody else cares. But if you're like submitting a manuscript that's got an N dash when there's supposed to be an M dash, they're like, I can't even with you people.
One of the reasons why I wanted to do this show on the Word, not only because there's a video game connection when you're reading text, this is before the times of your audio, where there was a pause or an awkward silence or something, it would be 3 dots.
Yeah, just sort of trailing off, yeah.
And you said that is also from comic books?
Oh, yeah, in comic books, Stan Lee does that all the time. I mean, or did that. Yeah, I know. I remember seeing that in comics a lot. It's just, yeah, somebody's train of thought gets interrupted because they see a new clue or something like that. Yeah, it happens.
Do you judge the ellipsis or the use of the ellipsis at all?
I did not used to, but now that it means somebody's pissed off, I'll probably use it even more. No. There's the part of me that is like the old research paper format is like, oh, this is for when you have a quote and you're leaving a few words out, this is where you put it. But who cares? And writing dialogue, if somebody's like trailing off, I'll do an ellipsis to indicate that. I usually do an ellipsis to indicate trailing off, and like an M dash would be getting interrupted. And I think I picked up that style from Stan Lee, pretty sure.
Okay, so you use the M dash when you're being interrupted. You use the ellipsis when there's a pause.
Yeah, or like, yeah, a little pause, a little trail off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if it's like worth worrying too much about.
Okay. I mean, someone saying that it's their style. I mean, it's just the way that they write. You know what they're trying to accomplish. So why complain about it? It's almost like sort of writing a dialect or grammatical pronunciation of things and omitting sounds the way that they are said.
There's that. But if you're, writing for a publication, the publication that is doing it likes to have their own style guide. So they might overrule the author and be like, well, that might be the way you like to write, but this is the way we like our newspaper to look, or our magazine, which is an argument that is probably increasingly irrelevant.
Yeah, the style guide is something that I think is more important in a tech writing scenario. I think the difference between the use artistically and the use technically. Style guides are in place for consistency.
Yeah, and especially it's like the more formalized the expectations of the readership of your publication, following a style guide is more important. So like the New England Journal of Medicine or whatever, they were like, no, you really have to write it in this format.
Yeah, I think there's a big distinction to be made between writing creatively and writing for a journal.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, if you're writing fiction, it all depends on how confused the audience likes to be.
I was telling you about these words that I learned as a part of this doing research on the ellipsis and its use. Aposiopesis, which is a figure of speech wherein a sentence is deliberately broken off as far as its usage. The M rule or the M dash is mentioned where you would mark occurrences.
Or an ellipsis, yeah.
Both those are used. And then there's another word, cæsura, which is a metrical pause or break in a verse. This is more...
Yeah, it's a poetry word.
Poetry and music, expressed by a comma, a tick, 2 slashes, 2 pipes, and that denotes pauses.
I see, yeah, in the Greek and the Latin they did that.
Yes, and then there's elision or deletion is the omission of one or more sounds, such as a vowel, a consonant, or a whole syllable in a word or phrase.
'Tis ne'er or my Laura clover.
Yeah, exactly.
Shakespeare.
I was going to say enough said.
Enough said. But yeah, no, that's that whole like Shakespeare dropping the V's out of ever.
Dropping V's.
Air. But yeah, we do that sometimes just to fudge the iambic pentameter.
He didn't use ellipses. I don't recall any ellipses in Shakespeare, but...
Don't accuse Shakespeare of using any punctuation because all of that was added later. I mean, I would say as far as the writing down of the manuscripts, the whole thing of putting all the plays into 5 acts and various scenes in them is not something that Shakespeare wrote. That's just the way that...
It was interpreted?
The people that typeset the plays were like, yeah, we should put them in 5 acts. Those things went through so many constant rewrites. If you do a production of Hamlet that uses every single word that has been collected into the manuscript of Hamlet, it takes 4 hours.
That's like the unabridged Hamlet?
In Shakespeare's time, they never would produce a play that takes 4 hours because they know people got to pee.
Is that the reason, or boredom?
People are not going to sit through 2 hours of play. They're not going to.
I barely can sit through a 2-hour movie.
Especially back then when you had to sit next to someone who stinks.
But I mean, everyone stunk, so it really didn't, I don't think it really mattered, right?
Oh, it always matters. Yeah, if we want to go off on Shakespeare, like, there would be different versions. You know, somebody would be like, hey, can I get a few extra lines tonight? My mom's going to be here. Or sometimes there'd be a thing that didn't work so well, so they cut it out and do something differently. But people would save all their various little scripts, and then they get compiled into the, the bonus features version. I would not worry about what kind of punctuation Shakespeare used, because for him, he's using the meter of the words themselves really well.
I'm going to move to a video game. I don't know if you've got usages of the ellipsis in video games. I would guess it was much more, used much more in the days of, well, I don't know. I mean,
days of Solid Snake.
Well, totally.
Right? Like Metal Gear.
Yeah. Metal Gear definitely was.
Like the little text things.
Yeah.
Between the little missions. There would be ellipses in those all the time.
Yeah.
But like,
well, this is from an arcade game called Arkanoid, which is basically you could just pitch it as Fancy Breakout.
Fancy Breakout.
Yeah, Tato made this.
Oh yeah, no, they do that. That's 5 dots.
Yeah,
those guys are pissed.
Exactly.
Only to be trapped in space, warped by someone. Somebody warped my space.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
Arkanoid was. You remember the game, right? Or don't you?
Arkanoid.
It came out in 97. It was Breakout, but you could have different blocks that would unlock special powers like lasers or doubling up on the paddles or splitting of the paddles or whatever. It was just...
Oh, right. Yeah.
Fancy Breakout is all it was.
Yeah, I sort of remember this.
Okay. Oh, by the way, I didn't even tell you about what's happened in Goddess of Victory, Nikkei. I haven't told you about that yet, but they use the ellipsis a lot in that game.
Sure they do.
When you are having conversations with the female robots and they are learning about you and wanting to, I guess, date you, go on dates, do things. I'm still unclear on the whole why it's necessary for robots to pretend to be humans. But I mean, every time you have conversations with these things and you don't know what to say, or there is the ellipsis there that is an option. Okay. I mean, it's like, I don't say anything. I just pause awkwardly.
Yeah.
Now that you've got things with talking with people or communicating, I think it can be used in that way as an option. Those descriptions, those title screens, I think that's, even in video games, you had that as a possible, like when they would just kind of trail off, it was used a lot in video game screens.
Oh, yeah. I really think it's like, whatever, context specific. Yeah, if it's in a video game.
Could be bad translation too, right? Taito was a Japanese company, so the translator may be mistranslating it, like all of your base are belong to us kind of thing.
It could be, but
I want to say Zero Wing did have some ellipsis use in its screen too.
Oh yeah, no, I think ellipsis use is very common in video games. I'm pretty sure they used it in Donkey Kong.
But they also use it, looks like, in Japanese, because they have the English and Japanese comparison, but it's like the Mongolian ellipsis, not the one up top. I think it's the mid one, but you have no chance to survive. Make your time. What you say? 2 exclamation.
What do you say?
Yes. And then of course there's ha 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 with the ellipsis at the end there. I'm sorry, I'm reading the script. I thought there were more ellipses in Zero Wing, the all your base are belong to us game. Do you have any arcade games that come to mind as far as ellipsis use, or any other
arcade games that come to mind?
Yeah.
Pac-Man. Ellipsis all over the place there. You're just eating them up.
Well, I don't think that's exactly what Namco's Pac-Man. I don't think he's eating series of ellipses.
No, I think he is.
Okay, all right. Oh, here we go. In Japanese media, such as manga or video games, ellipses are much more frequent than in English.
Oh, that might be where yeah, because I used to read a lot of manga translations.
And often are changed to another punctuation sign in translation. The ellipsis by itself represents speechlessness or a pregnant pause. That's probably where I got it from. Actually, all of my, these Japanese translated games, or just games in general, and possibly some manga, that being used in that way, maybe it just made it into my brain somehow. So that's kind of the way I use it, is sort of an extended pause. Depending on the context, it could be awkward. It's something longer than a comma. That's my personal use of the ellipsis, is that. Do you use it that way, or do you just use it for trailing off?
Or for just like a speechless sort of pause?
Yeah.
I could use it that way. I often will just pick up stylistic things from places and just use them without overthinking it. So I probably would.
You can relate to me doing that with games, right?
Yeah, I think that's just sort of a normal function of using language. Like people do just pick up things from other people, or they see something and then they use it without thinking too much.
Yeah.
As evidenced by the whole Ohio thing. People just picked it up and started using it without thinking about it much. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a Yahoo Life article that I kind of pulled up that was kind of interesting about the ellipsis, where it says the ellipsis is widening the gap between millennials and boomers. There's a section that says, why does it feel so foreign to younger people? So why do the dots cause so much drama compared to the innocuous dash or the comma? To the younger crowd, whose first words to their crush probably went down on instant messenger, the ellipsis has taken on an entirely different meaning. For people who primarily use line breaks as a way of separating their thoughts, the ... is then available for another meaning, and that other meaning is something left unsaid. To millennials, 3 dots is a punctuational bridge to nowhere, signaling hesitation, trailing off, or at worst, passive aggression.
Yeah. Passive aggression.
I mean, that's the thing. I can't wait to see your, the example here is, I can't wait to see your presentation, ...
Yeah.
And it says, suggests the continuation the writer is thinking, but won't actually come forward with like, because it's sure to be a disaster. So
yeah. People are so like ready to interpret the worst.
That's always been a problem with the printed word in emails and things. It's
emails. Yeah.
How do you convey that? Your posturing, your body language, your all these things that we take for granted. You can't do it all in punctuation.
No.
You know, you can try, but it's not going to be 100% accurate.
No. And then like there's those of us that have trouble with the body language and the posturing for like whatever reasons.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this whole struggle of like trying to be very precise with your words.
Right.
With like the literal meaning of your words, and then people adding in some kind of subtext and nuance that is only there because your body was awkward.
Yeah. So here's a question.
That's an autism thing, but yeah.
And let me just apologize if this is me being ignorant. For some not autistic, maybe just neurodiverse people, is the printed word more accurate than seeing someone visually and communicating in person?
It's tricky. Yeah, there's a lot of levels there. When everything is limited to just the printed word, then you have less variables for getting lost or confused.
Okay.
It's like everything is coming in on one channel, whereas when you're face to face, you've got like several different channels that you're supposed to be broadcasting and receiving on, and it can get confusing and hard to keep track of it all.
Right.
And so there are definite advantages to be able to just sort of limit the extraneous input,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Okay.
So it's tricky because, you know, if two people who sort of understand each other's quirks are talking, then it's not really an issue.
Right.
But if you're at a job interview and you got all your quirks and the other person doesn't understand, then, and I mean quirks in a loving way.
Well, you know,
I
mean, there's an observation in mimicry that occurs when you are talking with someone for the first time. Maybe it's just, I don't think about it because it doesn't cause me any issues. You know what I mean? As far as I know.
Right.
It's like there's a thing that goes on in my brain that can detect people's mood if they're broadcasting it, right? On whatever channel in very subtle ways that I would think it would be very challenging for someone who is autistic or one of a number neurodiverse categories.
Yeah, it's the numbers thing. That's that. I could go on and on about that, but yeah,
well, someone's got to buy your book.
Someone's got to buy my book. That's where I'm going to go on and on about this stuff. Yeah, and one of my books, I'll talk about this. Yeah, way too much, but that. Yes.
Well, it's kind of what you're being paid for, right? I mean, I think.
I hope I'm getting paid. Yeah.
That's in question.
No, it's not. It's eventually the books have to sell. That's how the royalties work.
I gotcha.
If the books don't sell, there's no royalties, right? Because the royalty is a cut of the book sales. So.
Right. Make sure you sign that you get the movie rights to these.
The
books
movie rights.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because these will be very. Actually, no. What the hell? Ben Mezrich, is that the guy who wrote the book that became The Social Network? Right. They made a movie. No, the guy who wrote the book that it was sort of based on, his whole strategy for like, he'll come up with ideas of books and he'll be like, which one could make a movie? As he's writing it, he'll, as he's doing the pre-writing, he'll try to get it, optioned as a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's smart, but I'm not there. I'm not that smart.
Based on the book The Accidental Billionaires is what it says here.
That's right. Yep.
By Ben Mezrich.
And he also did the one about the MIT guys counting cards.
Oh, Rounders?
Bringing down the house. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are a number of movies where people are counting cards.
But this was based on a true story movie.
Okay. So you're thinking about the rewriting, making sure that this is a loophole in the contract.
No.
Do it.
No.
Do it, man.
Do it?
Yeah.
For this one?
I want to see the based on your life movie.
It's not going to be based on my life. No.
Who would play you?
No.
Have you ever thought about that? Who would play
Zac
you?
Efron.
You think so?
No.
If you want that person to play you, that's fine.
No.
I mean, I would like to think a younger Jeff Goldblum would play me.
A younger Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, I would like to think that, but I'm pretty sure
You need to get a time machine. Yeah.
I don't know who currently would play me in a movie.
I don't know who the actors are anymore.
Yeah. Who's that guy who was in Vertigo?
Jimmy Stewart?
Jimmy Stewart. I had a girlfriend once who swore up and down that I looked like Jimmy Stewart, like my facial structure or whatever. I don't see it at all, but
I don't know. You have a face. Yeah.
I mean, I do have a face. Yeah. That's the important part. I do have a face.
The same number of ears as Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah. That's a good question to kind of end the episode.
Okay.
Are ears part of the face?
Yes.
Yes? You think so? They're not part of the head?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
I think the face is part of the head.
The face. Okay. So the ears are part of the face. So the face actually extends beyond to the ears. I didn't see Face Off, but maybe that was covered in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like you got your portrait and your profile, you know,
right.
And you got your...
You would include the ears. Yeah, that makes sense.
I include the ears.
Yeah. I think that would make sense just because just switching someone's face and leaving their ears, it's not the same. You can tell there's something amiss.
Yeah.
That's not what they did in Face Off. I never saw Face Off because it just seemed like it's such a dumb
I never saw Face Off.
Concept.
I refused to see Face Off. By refused, I just mean I didn't see it.
Okay. All right. Similar to you refusing to see Tenet. Honestly,
I don't know if I'm refusing to. I'm just not.
I really think you should watch it. I would really love to hear your perception and your thoughts on it. I know how much your nemesis.
I made Chris Nolan. Let me tell you about the other night. I had a dream.
You had a Chris Nolan dream?
I had a dream that it was a really kind of annoying and boring dream where I was talking to an old friend about something that happened in an even more boring dream within that dream. And then I woke up just getting irritated at Inception. And
I
was like,
well, that's Inception. That's the dreams, the dreams within the dreams, and that it's an interesting idea, but it's not as interesting to me as time flowing backwards and forwards. It's got some really interesting, mind-blowing sort of stuff that you can follow it kind of and understand what's going on. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, I think. Definitely worth checking out. But anyway.
Maybe.
All right. Prepare for your birthday gift.
My birthday gift.
I mean, you do have a Blu-ray player, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, any final thoughts on the word ellipsis? ...
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. What's the ... Is that the S in Morse code? ...
Oh, I
dash. ...
I think, yeah, that's the S. Yeah.
I think the 3 dashes is the O, right?
Wait, ... dash dash ... That doesn't sound right. It sounds like dash.
What?
I think it might be the O. I don't know.
What are you talking about? SOS.
Yeah, I know what.
It's the easiest thing to do on the
right, but I'm getting the dots and the dashes mixed up. I think. It's ... dash. So, you're
that's
correct.
Right. That's where
it is the S.
That's where you get your exactly. So, Yeah, that's what I'm going to do next is when I'm trying to really confuse and annoy people with a text message, I'll do
Replace
SOS.
Oh, I was just thinking replace all of your S's with the ... That
would be very
just
annoying.
that. And then it's like, what the heck is he trying to do here?
Autocorrect is already not my friend.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I think
no.
We talked about it on the vague episode. It's just the autocorrect, which I called spell check, but it's kind of all the same thing now.
Yeah.
It does both. It anticipates what you're going to type in, and it does a lot of times incorrectly. But I don't know. My thoughts on the word ellipsis is that's it.
That's it.
I mean, I kind of telegraphed that one, but
add in your you telegraphed it in, yeah. Dot.
Yeah, exactly. I telegraphed. Like literally the S.
Literally.
Yeah. So once again, Andrew, thank you for joining us on this week's episode. I really appreciate you. All
right, well, thanks.
Yeah. Love it when you're on the show. So,
all right. I hope we didn't bore everyone to death with the linguistics and the.
I think honestly, we may have, but I think it's an interesting sort of thing.
Right.
We don't. Sometimes those things we take for granted, and we don't take a deep dive into what where they come from. So, I mean, just our little wading into it and splashing around in the
that's true
in the ellipsis pool.
True. Maybe it'll help some young people understand that we're not being passive aggressive.
Right.
We just really like manga.
Yeah, manga and video games, man. That's what it is. Let's close the show with this. If there was a superhero called the Ellipsis, what would his power be?
Ooh, he could make things leave stuff out in the middle of things, like the bad guy's got his gun, then all of a sudden the middle of it disappears.
Oh, okay, all right,
yeah. I don't know.
Or the clip falls out, or something.
The clip falls out, something. All of a sudden his belt's gone, pants fall down.
Okay.
Hijinks. Yeah.
I was thinking he hangs his. That's kind of a Punisher sort of thing. He hangs all his victims, but that's that's a little dark.
That's dark.
Yeah, very dark. But anyway, so thank you, audience, for joining us on this week's episode of the Too Vague Podcast. My name is Ben.
My name's Andrew.
And we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Too Vague listeners. This is Andrew, your Partly Robot Industries guy, letting you know that if you want to get one of those Too Vague podcast t-shirts, here is the URL to type into the thingy on the internet. It's tpublic.com/user/partly-robot-industries. That's right. tpublic.com/user/partly-robot-industries. If that's not confusing enough, Ben might put in a link in the show notes. Follow it.